The president of Brazil was just kicked out of the White House, and honestly, I have three explanations for exactly why this happened. The first, and the most obvious to me, is that Donald Trump is in a state of deep cognitive and physical decline. He is absolutely terrified of standing before reporters, which is exactly what he was scheduled to do at 11:15 a.m. this morning. That briefing? Cancelled. The joint appearance with the Brazilian president? Gone. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now the second option is also plausible, that there were major clashes during their initial meeting this morning that caused Trump to freak out and shut the whole thing down. But the third possibility? I think it's the most probable of all, and that is that it's both. Donald Trump picked a fight he couldn't handle, and now he's too sleepy, too exhausted, and too deep in cognitive decline to actually go before the press and articulate his anger. So, the president of Brazil gets shown the door. We are going to dive into the latest reporting on this disaster, but I want to start with the evidence for my first explanation. I want to show you exactly why I believe this is tied to Donald Trump's ongoing health crisis. This hasn't just started today. This has been a pattern for months. Lawrence O'Donnell broke it all down in this critical report right here.
He is in sharp mental and physical decline. And we now have a number for it. 39%. That is the measure of Donald Trump's physical decline since his first time in the White House. 39%. In an article published tonight by the New York Times, Katie Rogers and Dylan Friedman report under the headline, "Shorter Days, Signs of Fatigue, Trump Faces Realities of Aging in Office." The Times has documented the newly abbreviated schedule for the struggling 79-year-old man. Quote, in 2017, the first year of his first term, Mr. Trump's scheduled events started at 10:31 a.m. on average. By contrast, Mr. Trump in his second term has started scheduled events in the afternoon on average at 12:08 p.m. His events end on average at around the same time as they did during the first year of his term, shortly after 5 p.m. The number of Mr. Trump's total official appearances has decreased by 39%. 39% less Donald Trump. That's what we're getting now. Donald Trump was the laziest president we had ever seen in his first term. He is now 39% lazier. And he is now apparently struggling with a 5-hour workday. And of course, none of us have seen him do anything that in any way meets the definition of work during those 5 hours. The Times reports Mr. Trump appeared to doze off during an event in the Oval Office. And so we are now covering the physical decline and fall of Donald Trump. Last night, I mentioned Donald Trump's age a couple of times when I pointed out that you can see the 79-year-old man who gets very little sleep bewildered about how he is losing his grip on the Republican Party. And there are people who are in full-blown dementia in their early 60s. We all age differently, and Donald Trump is aging just fine for someone who should be watching TV all day and playing golf occasionally, but he's aging terribly for a president. But Donald Trump at his best age would have been the stupidest president and most incompetent president in history and the most corrupt. A younger Donald Trump is not a better Donald.
It's becoming impossible to ignore. Donald Trump has been trimming his schedule more and more every single week. He doesn't host events at night, and he clearly doesn't get up early anymore. The only thing Donald Trump actually does in the wee hours of the night and the early hours of the morning is post unhinged rants on Truth Social. That's it. That is the extent of his work day. The Daily Beast just released a report that provides even more evidence for my first explanation. This wasn't just a diplomatic disagreement, it's a physical failure. Donald Trump is sick and Donald Trump is exhausted. He literally doesn't have the stamina to do the job he was elected to do. When you're too tired to stand next to the president of Brazil for 15 minutes, you aren't fit to lead the free world. But Trump as Christ was neither the first nor the last time that the president posted frantically in the middle of the night or the middle of the morning. In total, Trump posted 189 times between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. local time in April. This means 83% of nights in April saw at least one nighttime post from Donald Trump. The lack of sleep has seemingly caught up to Trump at times, as cameras have busted him dozing during cabinet meetings and news conferences. Main corrections. But Trump as Christ was neither the first nor the last time that the president posted frantically in the middle of the night or the middle of the morning. In total, Trump posted 189 times between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. local time in April. This means 83% of nights in April saw at least one nighttime post from Donald Trump. The lack of sleep has seemingly caught up to Trump at times, as cameras have busted him dozing during cabinet meetings and news conferences. Main corrections. Now, about an hour ago, Aaron Ruper posted this tweet that sparked my interest. He wrote, Trump was supposed to have an on-camera event with the president of Brazil at 11:15 today. It's nearly 2 p.m. The president of Brazil is at the White House, but nobody knows what's going on. C-SPAN subsequently removed the event from its calendar and from its schedule. How interesting. And this is now the reporting we have about the removal of the president.
We're following some breaking news. Brazil's president has just left the White House after meeting with President Trump. This was a meeting that was supposed to be opened up to the press, but that did not happen. The two leaders were expected to focus on tariffs and organized crime, as the Trump administration has been labeling two Brazilian-based cartels as terror groups. It's a similar move to Venezuela, which led, of course, to strikes on alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. Let's get right out to Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer, who has been standing by, tracking it all. So, Kelly, the president was supposed to open this up to the press at some point. Do we know why things appear to have not gone as planned?
Well, we don't know just yet, Nicole. This is just breaking in the last few moments. We actually saw some members of the international press leaving behind us. You can still see them streaming past our camera right now. And that was because we just learned in the last few moments that the president of Brazil is now leaving the White House after meeting with President Trump. As you mentioned, this was set to open to the press in a bilateral meeting that they call it at about 11:15 a.m. this morning. But they decided, the president of Brazil said he wanted to wait until after the two met to then meet with the press in front of the cameras. They had lunch, and now we learned that he is leaving. He will speak to the press at the embassy, but he won't be doing it here alongside President Trump. We do know the two didn't quite see eye to eye coming into this meeting, so maybe it is no surprise that they may not be going in front of the cameras, but it was something that we were anticipating, especially hearing from the president on other topics, as we often do. So this is something that we'll have to see what the White House says about whether or not the meeting went well or didn't. We'll see what they say after this. But this, again, just breaking in the last few moments, Brazil's president departing the White House after this meeting with the president that lasted for about 2 hours or so, we would say.
Interesting, yeah.
Nicole?
So we're anxious to find out what they discussed.
So let's be clear. This could be happening for a variety of reasons. It might be due to the points I just laid out. But one thing is certain. Donald Trump's visible cognitive decline and the ongoing health crisis he's facing right now is absolutely magnifying the worst aspects of his personality. We see it happening in real time. There was a time when Donald Trump had a low filter, but now he has no filter at all. The inhibitions are gone. Donald Trump is spiraling completely out of control. So, is it probable that his declining mental state caused him to pick a fight with the president of Brazil and then subsequently kick him out of the White House? Absolutely it is. Is it possible that Trump was literally dozing off during the meeting and his handlers had to jump in and say, maybe he's just not up for this discussion today? I can't say for sure, but what I do know is that we should be reporting on this as a serious health crisis for Donald Trump, because that is the reality of the situation. The fact that the mainstream media refuses to address this head-on is a massive problem. While Trump is literally falling apart, everyone in his inner circle is either exploiting the situation or acting just as reckless. Just look at Kash Patel. All this man seems to do is drink and party. He genuinely appears to have no clue how to actually do his job. And it's all happening because Donald Trump has lost all sense of what's going on around him. He has no idea who is stealing, who is plundering, or who is getting hammered on the clock, which is exactly what Kash Patel is doing. Now, Kash Patel clearly enjoys a cocktail or two, which wouldn't be a national issue if he wasn't the director of the FBI. However, if you aren't the director of the FBI and you like to enjoy a drink every now and then, I want to share a surefire way to make sure you wake up feeling sharp and refreshed after a night out. It's a pre-alcohol probiotic called Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was developed by PhD scientists specifically to handle those rough mornings after drinking. Here's the science. When you drink, alcohol is converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's actually the buildup of this specific byproduct, not just dehydration, that's responsible for that miserable feeling the next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. So just remember to make Z-Biotics your very first drink of the night, stay responsible, and you'll be good to go. You'll feel great the next day, as long as you're not running the FBI. Honestly, you'll feel your best tomorrow. I personally gave Z-Biotics a try just last week for the first time. I had a couple of Negronis and the next morning I woke up feeling perfectly fine. I was even able to get behind the mic and record a video at 8:30 am, which is a win in my book. Whether you're heading to a stadium to hear the crack of the bat, attending wedding season, or going to the Indy 500, it doesn't matter. This time of year is packed with events where you might have a few drinks, but you don't need to have a rough morning. So grab some Z-Biotics. Go to zbiotics.com/Liam to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use the code Liam at checkout. That's zbiotics.com/Liam. Use that code at checkout. Z-Biotics is even backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you, no questions asked. Remember, head over to zbiotics.com/Liam and use code Liam for 15% off. And seriously, if you are Kash Patel, just resign. That is honestly what's best for you and the country. Because just look at what Kash Patel is spending his time on lately. Blatant corruption and a total abuse of power.
Kash Patel is the most incompetent FBI director in the country's history. I don't think it's really even close. He is also willing to go whatever lengths he can to exact retribution from anyone that he feels has personally wronged him. No qualms about abusing their position and bringing the full power of the state down on their perceived enemies. In fact, that's why Donald Trump got into the game to begin with. He seems to have a partner in Kash Patel because we are learning much more about how dangerous the administration's revenge campaign can get. The first development revolves around this bombshell report on Patel's tenure last month by Sarah Fitzpatrick of The Atlantic. More than 24 sources in and out of the FBI told Fitzpatrick Patel frequently disappeared from the job and drank to excess, that he was erratic, suspicious of others, and prone to jumping conclusions before he has necessary evidence. On multiple occasions in the past year, she wrote, members of a security detail had difficulty waking Patel because he was seemingly intoxicated. And, notably, a request for breaching equipment, normally used by SWAT and hostage rescue teams to quickly gain entry into buildings, was made last year because Patel had been unreachable behind locked doors, according to multiple people familiar with the request. Now, you might remember Patel issued a blanket denial. The Atlantic included that denial in their piece. Fitzpatrick in the magazine said, we stand by our story, even said they had gotten corroboration from more sources after the story was published.
Donald Trump is completely out of control because his mind is failing him. And Kash Patel, he's spiraling because he's desperately trying to cater to Donald Trump's broken brain. We've seen another report surface, once again from The Atlantic, about Kash Patel handing out personalized bottles of whiskey. Honestly, the people receiving those bottles could probably use some Z-Biotics, and they definitely need a better boss. This just shows someone who is entirely out of control. This is the reality of this administration. It demands much better scrutiny and coverage from the press, and we are certainly committed to providing that on this show. If you want to support our mission, as always, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. If you've stuck around until the very end, drop a blue heart in the comments so I know you're with us. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'm Liam Prescott and I'll see you in the next one.